Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Amicus Therapeutics collaborates with patients to develop life-changing medicine using BlueJeans. My name is Maggie Bliss, and I will be your moderator this morning. Today, I'm joined by Mehthaz Saad, our BlueJeans product marketing manager, and Amanda Sawinski, our patient and professional advocacy manager, and Gary Lasasso, the collaboration experiences and technologies director at Amicus Therapeutics. Thank you guys for being here. So before we kick things off, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. First, we are using BlueJeans events, which means that you as an attendee are in a one-way viewing experience. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see our navigation bar. It's the third icon down is the moderator chat feature. So if you have any technical issues, place them there and I'll address them as quickly as possible. And last icon is the Q&A chat feature. So if you have any questions today for Gary or Amanda, please put them there and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. And lastly, this session is being recorded and we'll send it out to everyone after the event. And with that, I'll pass it over to Mehthaz.
Awesome. Thanks, Maggie. Good morning and afternoon to everyone wherever you are. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, staying healthy, and thanks a lot for your time today. So for the last few months, we have been featuring some of our most innovative, interesting customers who are doing amazing work out there. And we're so glad to be a partner in all of this. And they're using BlueJeans to achieve the mission of their company. So we have been highlighting their stories in a series of webinars if you've been following our events up until now. And today we are super happy to share the story of Amicus Therapeutics. They're a biopharmaceutical company, and they're focused on discovering and developing high-quality medicines for people living with rare diseases. And they will go into a little bit on that in just a second. Another thing to note is Amicus won the BlueJeans Best of Breed Awards for the Best Collaboration Champion and Team that we announced in February. So congratulations to both of you. And Gary and Amanda, welcome to our webinar. Thanks so much for your time, for joining us. Let's get this started. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Amicus Therapeutics.
Well, sure. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate being here. My name is Gary Lasasso. And I'm responsible for the tools that we use at Amicus to communicate and collaborate globally with not only our Amicus colleagues, but also with our partners and our patients around the globe.
And hi, my name is Amanda. Oh, thanks, Gary. My name is Amanda. I've been with Amicus about 2.5 years. I work for the patient and professional advocacy team. As mentioned, I'm the Pompeii lead in the U.S. and globally for our programs. I actually started interning with Amicus almost over a decade ago, and from there I was really just inspired by the mission of Amicus and their dedication to patients and rare diseases. So I went into the field of social work and focused on chronic medical illness and actually got my license. I'm a licensed social worker, and from there my roads led me back to Amicus patient advocacy. So
awesome. Thank you. So will you go into a little bit on what is Amicus Therapeutics' mission and what are you trying to accomplish with the work that you're both doing?
Sure. So as you mentioned, we are a global biotech company. I think one of the things that separates us is we're very, very patient focused. And that includes our discovery, development, and delivering treatments and cures for people living with rare diseases. One interesting note about our company, and one of the just wonderful things about it is about 15 years ago, long before Amanda and I were with the company, they got together and created a belief statement. And the really cool thing is for the last 15 or so years, that has really remained largely unchanged. And it's because it was so, pointed and important and focused on what our mission was, it didn't need to be changed. Mm-hmm. And there's a section in there that with statements about fostering teamwork and how important that is. And one of the statements talks about our passion for making a difference, and and that empathy really that we share as a company and as people at our company and what we're doing. And I think it's that passion for making a difference and that collaboration that sort of brought IT, which is where I sit, and the patient advocacy team where Amanda is. And it allowed that collaboration to happen because we all are looking for those opportunities to to make a difference in people's lives. And, I mean, sometimes I think, I'm in IT, we do video conferencing, really what can I do? And this was really just a wonderful thing for us to do together.
Yeah, and to really go off of what Gary's saying, part of my mission of my job at Amicus is to foster that mission, foster that patient dedication. So me and my team are driven by the experiences of patients and families living with rare diseases, and we try as much as we possibly can. At the core of our job, we do much more than that, but at the core of our job, we really are, there to bring the patient voice to the table, the company, and just really remind people of our mission and find other ways for them to experience inspiration and empathy towards that mission.
Awesome. That's incredible and very inspiring. So jumping off on that a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about the Patient Advisory Board and how that program is being held right now, and what you're doing with that?
Sure. So, long before also my time at Amicus, just as Gary said before 2010, I think it was 2007, Amicus started this Patient Advisory Board program, and really that came from the fact that there's so little information out there about rare diseases. We know so little. We're growing and we're learning more and more as we move forward. But at that time, the rare diseases we were working in, researchers, doctors, the medical community know a lot, but we don't know a lot about the patients, what their experience is like, what their diagnostic journey is like. So a part of what the Patient Advisory Board is to bring to light patient experiences with a rare disease. So it's kind of mixes the triad of a medical advisory board and a scientific advisory board, bringing in that patient voice. And that's really what I think at the core of Amicus has kept us so involved with patients and keeps patients at the forefront of everything we're doing, because we're getting that perspective right from them. So over the years, they've really supported us. We owe a lot of our progress in drug development to the patients and the people and the families living with rare diseases. So a couple of years ago, actually, and I heard this story from my boss. I wasn't here either, but in 2017, we were having a patient advisory board in San Francisco, and there were really bad wildfires at the time. And the patients who we were working with had a very severe skin condition. It was really challenging, and everybody was kind of on question of whether we wanted to cancel this advisory board. And so from there, actually, what happened was we said we don't want to put patients in a dangerous situation, and we decided to make it a 2-day BlueJeans virtual event. And from there, that was really the first time we ever did a full 100% all day BlueJeans meeting, totally virtual, just like we all are right now, right? But at the time, it didn't really seem like something we could do. We'd always done it face to face. We'd always have everybody in the room for that one-to-one interaction face to face. And then, from there, we really gained our confidence in our ability to have these meaningful advisory board meetings that were virtual. So since then, rather than doing 2 face-to-face meetings a year, we've migrated to maybe doing 1 face-to-face and a couple of virtual, or, needing those quick meetings where we're getting that patient voice, all the way from, R&D, early drug development, all the way to commercial products. That's really what our whole cross-functional team can come in and talk to the patients and ask them questions, and hear really from them about what they think about our programs. So now that we're kind of in this COVID-19 at-home work environment, BlueJeans has been really, really great in allowing us to still have that interaction with our patients and our caregivers in the rare diseases that we work in, to be able to get that feedback. And there's just an ease of use. We've learned to be comfortable. I work directly with Pompe patients who struggle to travel, who are not always mobile. So to be able to have the option to do these meetings virtually, and now to not have to worry about asking them to travel to us is really, really important to us as a company, that we're not overburdening or putting patients in any kind of dangerous or uncomfortable situation. And really over time, they've become super comfortable with using it. The first time we ever did it, I did practice sessions with everybody, and now everybody's comfortable. Like, does anybody want a practice session? And they're like, nope, we're good. And they just log right on, and we have a really great discussion. And I think it's been really great for us to still continue that work.
Wonderful. Can you elaborate a little bit on what has been the impact up until now of this program? Like, what are some of the things that you've been able to achieve with the patient advisory boards?
Sure. So one of the things, like I said earlier, was, there's not a lot of research out there. How we build our clinical trials is really important because, we want to show that a treatment works and show that a treatment works in a meaningful way to the patients. So for instance, the endpoints of our study are very significant in making sure our drugs one day could get in the hands of patients to be commercial, to be approved. So patients from the very early stages, might give us information on how we should build our trials, what we should be measuring, what endpoints, what tests we use. Also just helping us build our trials in a way that patients will actually want to be in them. It's really hard for us as when you talk about the scientists, and everybody always means well, right? But, doing overnight visits, doing too many tests, doing biopsies, that's all burden on the patient. So we will take our clinical trial protocols and go through them with the patients and say, what can we change? What can we add? What can we take away that would make you feel comfortable to not recommend the trial, but to tell somebody, hey, this might be something that you would be interested in.
Well, so before, when we had talked earlier, you mentioned a little bit about how specific this patient community is for these sort of issues and diseases. So tell us, how else are you interacting with these patient communities, and how are you speaking with these organization leaders you had mentioned?
Right. So the patient advisory board is just one way we get patient insights. Another way we get those patient insights is by talking to the leaders of organizations. So because these diseases are so rare, patients don't find a lot of support out there in the community. So the patient organizations, just like of, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, there's a United Pompe Foundation, there's a foundation that works with the Pompe community. So those leaders who run those organizations are very involved with the patient community in education. They have relationships with the doctors that treat Pompe. They're normally one of the first people that when someone's diagnosed, those people that are newly diagnosed are going to the patient organizations for support, for information. So one of the best ways that we connect with the patient community is by working with our PAO leaders, our patient advocacy organization leaders, as we call them, on a quarterly, monthly basis. Since COVID-19 happened, I've been talking to some of my PAO leaders in the beginning on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis, just to see what's going on. They might call me and say like, hey, this is up with, your clinical trial, and somebody's having issues with this. Just to know what's going on is really important to us, and it's really important to them to have us as a partner, so that they can feel like the whole community is represented and heard.
So that's the external side of it, interacting with patients and the community. How are you using BlueJeans and video conferencing internally in terms of collaboration, especially now that obviously like most people are working from home?
Oh, do you want to take that one, Gary?
No, so I think I don't want to sort of jump ahead to some of the things we've been doing with the product,
sure.
But yeah, I think one of the other areas that we've been doing a lot of is sort of the lunch and learns with our patient community, and they started out being in our cafe, which is a town hall space, and they've sort of obviously now moved to a virtual event, and I think Amanda could talk a little bit more about those town hall events and the lunch and learns and how we're able to engage our employees a little bit more with bringing our patients and those community leaders in to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just another one of the ways that we as I earlier mentioned, foster that patient dedication here, is bringing in patients on we do lunch and learns actually on a monthly basis, within our company to really remind people and inspire people about patient stories. So it may be in diseases that we work in, and it may not. It may be other rare diseases. It may be a caregiver. It may be a patient organization leader. We bring them in we used to do them at lunch. Right now it's kind of like, I guess a bring your own lunch kind of thing. But we used to use BlueJeans in the sense that we'd have those meetings, those lunch and learn meetings in the office in our headquarters in New Jersey. And then we would utilize BlueJeans to broadcast it globally. We have locations in Philadelphia and international in the UK and Japan. And we also have a large field team that works across the country and across Europe. So it's always really important to us to use BlueJeans to broadcast those lunch and learns from our headquarters as well, so that everyone can tune in and be reminded of that mission, right? Like it's part of our job to bring that to them and foster that. So ever since we went virtual, we're all at the work from home environment now. We kind of were a little nervous about it, like going and all virtual lunch and learn. What is this going to mean? But I have to say, it's been easier to plan. It's been seamless. We get more Q&A from folks because, back in the headquarters in Cranberry, we used to pass around a mic, and I think people were a little nervous about asking questions in front of people. And now that we have this virtual Q&A feature, it's been really great to get people more involved, and even just people writing nice comments to say thank you for sharing your story, and things like that have been, I think, a real treat for our employees to experience lunch and learns a little differently.
Yeah, and I think if I could just jump in and add, about from the employee perspective, really, not from the technology guy perspective, but for me, being able to attend these sessions both, prior when we were in the room and now virtually, I think what it does really is it renews our sense of purpose and our sense of mission on what we're doing. Quite often, more often than not, you kind of would walk out of the cafe and now even, close your computer after the event now. And you really, you're not human if you're not emotional about some of these things. And, it really renews, my passion for work, my excitement for making a difference. And, it just, allows us, to understand, what the patients are going through, understanding a perspective that kind of I don't have, on an everyday basis. And, there's just a lot of wows, when you talk to these people and see them and hear from them. And it's, it really is very, very inspirational.
That's also inspirational for us to hear too, just what you've been doing up until now, and how you've been able to make such impact. So thanks for sharing that with us. Switching topics a little bit. So Gary, you've been with us, and thank you for that. You've been with us for about 5 years now. So I wanted to hear a little bit from your perspective, like how has your experience been with BlueJeans from an IT perspective, and tell us a little bit about the thought process that you had as to why you chose BlueJeans and about the deployment itself.
Sure. So just so you know, prior to working with BlueJeans, I didn't have gray hair. So, no, only kidding. I'm only kidding. Now, in all seriousness, we evaluated and continue to evaluate platforms all the time. We want, part of my role and what I do is to ensure that we communicate and collaborate effectively and efficiently around the globe. Any device, we kind of didn't realize we were getting ready for, road mapping for COVID-19, but kind of it happened and we were prepared for it. And, one of the great things about BlueJeans, and even prior to COVID, was the interoperability. We could work in a conference room, we could work in a cafe, we could work at our desk. And we're sort of eliminating the conference room today because we're working remotely, but we're still doing it the same way. So that workflow hasn't changed. More and more, to be honest with you, we're using, Microsoft Teams and Poly in conference rooms. And BlueJeans is really the bridge to that as well. So if I want to join a meeting, a Teams meeting with a conference room, I can join it with BlueJeans Relay. So that part of it is just wonderful. It's really one of the great features. Amanda, mentioned from the patient side, and it's the same with the employee side. It's just sort of the comfort and and usability. It is just it's just very seamless. We do use the the events platform, which is what we're on here for our town hall meetings, and like Amanda mentioned, we can do inline Q&A, and people will respond to that during a meeting, so that makes it very efficient. I think the product roadmap at BlueJeans, in addition to the platform itself, but the roadmap has been, very innovative, and continues to evolve, which is wonderful. Smart meetings, which we're just sort of getting started with, is great. We started to explore that. The raise hand feature is great. I could go on and on about, a lot of the features being, I know for Amanda, be able to upload videos to events and have them run more smoothly as opposed to, directly try to stream from another platform is really, really wonderful to be able to do. So, and then I'm very super excited about some of the new stuff that's on the way with, virtual backgrounds, trying to get rid of my stuff that's going on behind me. That'll be great. And then I know that pretty close by now is the expanding from the 9 on a screen to 5x5 or 7x7, whatever that is. We're excited about that as well. So I can keep going.
Well, I was actually,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Amanda.
I was going to say, to go off of what you said, I think, now being forced into this virtual room, our PAB and just meetings overall with patients and within the company, we've been working on our meeting etiquette, right? And the PAB was so excited about the raise your hand feature that came out. I mean, I think it must have come out right when I had my PAB, because it was just about a month ago. And they were using that, and it was really great to directly call on people when I know they had something to say versus trying to step in and knowing when to interrupt somebody. And it makes sure everybody's heard, right? And makes sure everybody gets their opinion heard. And then additionally, with being able to upload videos, we launched a program just this year called Mission Moments, and a Mission Moment library where we have these kind of pre-selected videos that do the same thing as our lunch and learns, right? They inspire the mission, they inspire empathy, they inspire passion. And they're most often stories of the diseases we work in, or rare disease. We have a COVID-19 section where, rare disease patients are talking about their experiences with being isolated and, now being quarantined to their homes, because they're a little bit more of a vulnerable population. So the fact that we're able to upload videos now is really cool, because our mission moments are meant to be any kind of larger meeting we have, or even just a weekly meeting or a one-on-one. I know some people that might be on this call right now that actually use those mission moments in their one-on-ones. And to be able now to upload those and share them with people within our company at cross-functional team meetings is just another way that we can remind people of their mission, even when they are isolated at home, either on their own or maybe trying to get away from their families, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we notice ourselves too, that culture and the connection that we share when we have been in offices together, and that we see each other's work, and how that's taken away when you're isolated and working from home. So the ability to do that, I think, is going forward is going to be very important for all of us. I wanted to ask, we're almost near the end of our time. I wanted to ask, just briefly, if you wanted to touch a little bit on how you're managing security and privacy of the patients, obviously a delicate topic, and how you've managed to work that around into the program itself.
Yeah, so I think that, a lot of the times, these patients who come to us, or caregivers as well, sometimes parents of children with rare diseases, they're all at different phases stages of privacy and what they do and want to share. But I think really at the end of the day, they just want their story heard. They want their perspective heard. So they're almost not always as worried about the privacy factor of it. They want their story to be heard. So they want that information shared. But from a perspective of an industry and compliance, we follow, GDPR regulations, privacy regulations. We have specific contracts with our patients, where there's certain consents we take, for that factor of PHI and protected health information. But we follow all those guidelines. But most often the patients are like, this is just a formality. I want my story shared. But we protect them at all costs in terms of their name, identity, and HIPAA perspectives.
Yeah, and I think we do the same thing with our employees too. We need to make sure from a cybersecurity perspective that the platform is safe and effective, and even to me it's table stakes. If it was not secure and it didn't pass all of our tests, we wouldn't be using it. But we do undergo a series of cybersecurity assessments, and when COVID hit, there was a lot of stuff in the news about cybersecurity and video conferencing, and we just were vigilant about letting our employees know what things to do, and what things to put in place. We even allowed we encouraged people to use BlueJeans actually for their own personal use too on nights and weekends, to connect with their families and people they wouldn't be able to interact with normally. We just said, hey, listen, we checked with you guys at BlueJeans to make sure there were no licensing issues with that, but we opened it up for employees to do their family meetings, and in fact, I have one tonight with with all of our family. It's my mother-in-law's birthday, so we're gonna get on a BlueJeans call, and my daughter produced a video, so we're gonna upload the video and make sure it runs smoothly, and so we're using the whole platform. 8:00 at night though, so it's after hours.
Awesome. Happy birthday to her. And thanks for sharing that little tidbit with us. So just closing off here, just any comments you have for organizations or teams trying to stand up virtual programs that typically used to be physical before COVID hit. I'll start with you, Amanda, and then we'll close off with Gary.
I think in terms for my patient advisory boards or any of our team's patient advisory boards, it's about offering that beginning stage of practice sessions so that they feel comfortable and confident. Sometimes new software, even though no matter how easy it is, right, it can be a little overwhelming. So I think offering that practice session, ensuring you're following the right privacy guidelines. If you're thinking about recording a meeting, make sure you have the right consents for that and announce that it's being recorded and what the purpose of that is. From a patient perspective, that's really important. And they've loved being able to use the app as well. So I think that if you're thinking about launching something like this, it's very important to say there's all these different ways you can call in. You could use a web browser. You can download the app to your computer. And that's not me plugging for you guys. That's me being serious, where I've had patients use many different ways of the BlueJeans apps. So it's been really helpful for us to have options.
So I think for me, quite simply, just don't be afraid of the technology. I mean, it really is a way to stay connected in a today what's a disconnected world, and it's just an opportunity to do that.
So I think that's the end of our session here. And if anyone has any questions, we'll take a couple of minutes, and you can put it in on your right side in the Q&A section.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. That was fantastic insight into what you're doing and how you're using BlueJeans. I'll start with a question for myself as we see if any come in. If you had any advice, what would your top advice be for someone who wants to implement BlueJeans or BlueJeans events? I think, Gary, this one would be for you.
Well, this is for me. Engage your customer, whoever that is, your end users. If you're trying to do it internally, engage your employees, find out what their needs are, and then sort of build around what what those use cases are. Find out what the use cases are and build around those.
Great advice. And then I have one more while waiting for questions. Sometimes being on camera can be a little awkward. So Amanda, how do you foster on-camera culture, especially with your employees and your patients?
So for me, I think it's just about me being open, right? Like before a meeting, I don't know if you've seen my dogs in the background jumping around in the bed, but I pretty much, especially since we've all been home, it's just more about, don't apologize. With my PAB, a couple of them are like, oh, I'm sorry, my kid's in the background, or, you see cats running around. And I think it's just about acknowledging and having that empathy, just like we do for our patient community, for each other, and just, learn to laugh and love from it. For me, it's been a great experience to see into people's homes a little bit, to see what they like. I've become so much closer with my colleagues in the UK just from, having to see their plants in the background and know what they're interested in. So I think from a video perspective, it's just about accepting that fact that you're going to get to know each other a little better.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any questions that came in, but thank you guys so much for coming and being on this webinar. If anyone who is viewing has any questions, please follow up with us through email or through BlueJeans.com. If you have any questions specifically for Amanda and Gary, we will make sure that we get those questions to them. With that, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.